first need to have, if you want to call it, must-win game in the Hugh Freeze era on Saturday when Sam Pittman and the Arkansas Razorbacks come to town for an SEC afternoon showdown. Welcome to the SEC Unfiltered channel, and I am your host, Dave Shumate, longtime college football player personnel director in the SEC and among other places around college football. But first, we have to pay some bills. This segment brought to you by our buddies over at MYBOOKIE.ag. Use code SECU at sign up to receive a special welcome offer on your first deposit, folks. There's not a better place to place your wages, guys. Starting on Thursday through Monday, place wages with these guys. We encourage you, but when you do, go sign up this week. Use code SECU at sign up to receive a special welcome offer, and tell them your buddies over at SEC Unfiltered channel, the SEC guys sent you over. But look, let's get to why you're here. This wasn't really mentioned much in the offseason. I don't know why, but I'll be the first to say I thought Hugh Freeze underachieved. Hugh Freeze and Auburn underachieved in 2023. That should have been a 7-win team at the very least. When you factor in the schedule, they had Vandy on there as well. They played Cal at a conference. I know that sounds funny now because they already dropped it to Cal. But still, I don't want to go in depth into the 2023 season, but they should have won that game. They weren't better than Alabama as a team, but on that day, you don't give up a 4th and 31. That just doesn't happen. Auburn should have won 7 games last year. Now, year 2 has gotten off to a slow start and a loss this weekend would drop the Tigers to 2-2 overall, 0-1 in league play before the Tigers even get into the meat grinder of the SEC schedule. Because remember, they're at home for the first 5 weeks and then they're away for a month. But that's not exactly the way Coach Freeze and the 2024 Auburn team drew it up. Already a quarterback change. After week 2, again, Hank Brown getting the start against New Mexico last week after Peyton Thorne struggling against Cal the week before. But I just wanted to dive in and look at both scenarios here. With what would an Auburn win mean this weekend against Arkansas, and what would an Auburn loss look like, and what would those ramifications be for both potential scenarios for Hugh Freeze and Auburn. But let's pull up the schedule with a win. Let's go through. All right. So they already got the win against Alabama A&M, lost to Cal, beat New Mexico, 2-1. They have Arkansas this week at home, Oklahoma at home this week, at Georgia, bye week, at Missouri, at Kentucky. This is that whole month they're off. I mean, they're at home. Next week's their last home game for a while. It's September 28th, and they're not home again until November 2nd. It's a long time. So they go at Kentucky, Vanderbilt at home, like I mentioned, bye, ULM at home, Texas A&M at home, and then finishing out their season at Bryant-Denny Stadium against the Alabama Crimson Tide. But let's look to see what a win would look like. Let's look at a win. With a win, I would say the 8-win goal that I think Auburn should achieve this year is still very attainable, even with the loss to Cal. But let's look at it this way. 6 wins is almost assured, and 7 would definitely be in the cards. I think you got 4 wins, 4 losses, 4 toss-ups on that 12-game schedule. Because I think you got your 4 wins. You'd already have 3 wins. If you beat Arkansas, you'd have what? Alabama A&M, New Mexico, Arkansas, and I'm going to give you ULM just for the sake of the argument. Then you'd have 4 losses, I think. You already have the Cal one. I think you lose at Georgia, you lose at Missouri, and I think you lose at Alabama. I think that's all fair as we sit here in the middle of September right now. I think we'd all agree with that, right? Then you've got the 4 toss-ups. Good thing for Auburn, 3 of these 4 toss-ups are at home. At Oklahoma Oklahoma at home next week. At Kentucky, Vandy at home, and then Texas A&M, the second to last game of the year at Youre Stadium. You got those 4. 7-5 isn't what you want, but I'm going to say something here is that it's going to sound a little wild, and I think that's where it would be. If Auburn were to win, I think it's going to fall in that 7-5 range. But guys, Auburn's going to go break the bank this fall in the portal. Their war chest has kind of been saving for the 2025 kind of recruiting cycle. That's the 2025 recruiting class. That's the 2025 portal class. It's kind of all been saving for this moment. At the very least, they're going to pay big bucks for a quarterback and probably are going to set the market for the quarterback in the transfer portal this year. The big question though lingering right now, people want to know, why didn't they fix this problem in 2024? And I think you talking to people close to the Auburn program, they feel like Auburn felt like they weren't just a quarterback away from going to compete for a championship. They had other holes to fill. And 2 things can be true at once. That's very true. They're young at receiver. They have offensive line issues. The defensive personnel is not really there. That's true. But in today's football, high school, college, professional, your quarterback with offenses now and the way points are being put up have to be one of your top 3 to 5 players in your roster. It can't just be a distributor. Your player has to be your quarterback has to be one of your best players on your roster. So you're not going to really win much of anything if you don't have a really good one, much less when you have Peyton Thorne. And it's too early to tell when Hank Brown looked good against New Mexico, but there'll be a real test this week. It is what it is now. And speaking of Hank Brown, that's what Auburn needs to be focusing on, because Travis Williams, former Auburn player, he's the defensive coordinator for Arkansas. This one's going to be personal for him this week. They're going to come in. Sam Pittman said it at SEC Media Days, folks. He's an aggressive defensive coordinator, Travis Williams. I was with him at Auburn the first time back in 2016. Then I was with him my last year in college football in 2021 when he was the defensive coordinator at UCF. Happened to be his first year to be a coordinator. He's an aggressive play. He's an aggressive defensive play caller. He likes to play a lot of cover zero, which means there's no safety help. They're bringing a lot of extra men, 6, 7 guys. That's what he's going to do. Can Hank Brown maneuver? I don't know. It's not one of his strengths. He doesn't move as well as Peyton Thorne. That's why Peyton Thorne's a little more dynamic in the zone read game. Hank Brown doesn't really bring that. But that's where Hugh Freeze and their focus has to be. And that's where it is. This is where Ken Austin, Derek Nix, Hugh Freeze's focus definitely is. It's not on why they didn't bring someone else in. Now, you can't do anything about it. But I think that's where if Auburn wins this game, 8-4 is realistic. 7-5 is probably about where it is. Now, with a loss, you're now on the verge of being below 500, and 6-6 could be on the high end. Let's call it spade a spade. You would have 5 guaranteed losses, with 2 already to Arkansas and Cal. And then you would have at Georgia, at Missouri, and at Alabama, certainly to be expected losses as we stand right now. So that's 5, 7-5 best case. 3 wins if you include, you already got Alabama A&M, New Mexico, and I'm giving you ULM again for the sake of the argument. Then 4 toss-ups. And you'd have to win 3 out of 4 to just go to a bowl game in year 2, which is baffling to say. But you get Oklahoma at home next week, at Kentucky, Vandy at home, and at A&M. And I know some people are going to be like, Vandy's a toss-up. I mean, at that point, you lost to Arkansas at home, who I think is a little underrated. Again, it's never been more important to create momentum within your program in the middle of the year. It's so easy for coaches, players to quit now with the one-time transfer, contracts being up, when all your goals and aspirations are gone. And that's what, let's call it what it is. I hate to be like that, but I'm going to call a spade a spade. I'm a straight shooter. The loser of this Arkansas-Auburn game, most of their goals, aspirations going into the season are over. I think Arkansas was more in that 6-7 range, and I think Auburn realistically should be an 8-4, 4-4 SEC record team. They should this year. But I think that's kind of what it is. I mean, you lose this game, you're staring at 5-6 right in the face. Now, you know what I'm about to say. I mean, you know what I'm about to say, Auburn folks, and anybody listening. If Auburn were to lose Saturday and finish 5-7, 6-6, what would that mean for the recruiting momentum built back in the spring and summer? What would that mean? That equity they built up throughout the summer. What would that mean? I mean, currently, you go look at any team rankings. Auburn's currently a top 5 recruiting class. They have 7 of the top 10 kids in the state of Alabama committed to them. I think Ohio State has 2 more. I think Ohio State actually is the number 1 player in the state of Alabama committed to them, and Alabama has another. But nonetheless, Auburn has 70% of the top 10 kids in the state of Alabama, a top 5 recruiting class. Jared Thompson, the Spain Park transfer to Thompson, watched him first week. I think he had like 13 tackles, 3 or 4 sacks. It was just a disruptive beast, dude. So you're fired up about what they're bringing in, especially even with the young cats already on the team. Now, I think they went 5-7, 6-6 back before the new transfer rules, name, image, and likeness. This could be a potential killer in year 2 to be 500 or below. Because think about it. All the great coaches that their trajectory went up, they all kind of springboarded in year 2. Nick Saban, 6-7, 6-6 first year, won the SEC West, played for the SEC championship game, went to a Sugar Bowl. Bob Stoops won a national championship his second year. Kirby Smart won the SEC, played for a national championship. Urban Meyer won the SEC, won a national championship. Nick Saban actually did the least out of them all at Alabama. I mean, it's wild to say, but usually that's kind of your year 2 is your springboard. Maybe in today's era now, with how Auburn, just their timetable, maybe it's year 3 for Hugh Freeze. Now, I do think Auburn has their ducks in a row from a collective standpoint, a support staff standpoint heading into 2025. They have a legit war chest that I think people don't talk about enough, that I think could make Auburn, if they were to go 5-7, 6-6, even 7-5. Because again, like I said, they're going to go set the market, the quarterback market, I should say, in the transfer portal, and probably a lot of other markets. They could arguably make the biggest jump, be the most improved team from 2024 to 2025, if we're being honest, with the money I hear they have. They're going to do everything but give away their firstborn child for a quarterback out of the portal. Again, let's call a spade a spade. I think they keep the high school class together as well. And then I think like I keep saying, they're going to set that quarterback market. That's going to be a main priority for the On to Victory collective, Will Redmond, Hugh Freeze, Ken Austin, Garrett Nix. It's going to certainly be one. And Auburn fans will be watching that very closely. And I say all this to say, I think a loss this weekend to Arkansas in the friendly confines of Youre Here Stadium will be a really bad loss. But I say that it will be a really bad thing, a really bad loss, only for the 2024 season. Hugh Freeze is definitely going to see 2025, and I think that'll be the season he will be judged on, which I think is fair. And I honestly think it'll be the first season he will have a quarterback that can compete at a high level in the SEC. I think two things can be true at once. I think it could be really bad for a 2024 season, not hitting that 8-win standpoint, 4-4 conference record that I think realistic and people thought was attainable going into the season. But I don't think it's time to press the panic button on Hugh Freeze's total tenure. It's time to press the panic button for 2024, but not for the long-term future because of what they have from a name, image, and likeness collective standpoint, On to Victory, support staff members they brought in like Will Redmond. Look, 2024 may not end up being what Tiger fans expected, but Auburn is built to take off in 2025 when you really start to pull back the layers, folks. So it'll be an interesting one this afternoon. I appreciate you joining us on this segment, and make sure you go hit that notification bell so you do not miss any of the content we will have coming your way this fall from the SEC Unfiltered channel. What happens at Youre Here on Saturday afternoon, folks? Myself and Chris Phillips and the SEC Unfiltered Tour will be there. We'll be on the plains. We'll be at Youre Here Stadium, and we look forward to seeing you all. Do not be shy. Come holler at the fellas if you see us. But for Dave Shumate and the rest of the SEC Unfiltered crew, you have a phenomenal week.